All right, cousin Tone. We are gonna have some fun tonight. When it comes to the hobby, our next guest has his hands in a little bit of everything. I'm talking cards, memorabilia, marketing and promotion, graphic design, you name it, he does it. And oh yeah, I forgot a little something. He's a Philadelphia fan through and through, baby, a man after our own hearts. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Sal Travato, aka STM Sports and Collectibles. What's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
Going on, guys? How you doing?
Excellent, excellent. Welcome, man.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to this for a while now.
Excellent, bro. I'm looking at your background. You got the Iverson jersey. That looks like it's signed, correct?
Yeah, signed. It's got the 2K16 Hall of Fame inscription. And this Howard jersey over here, my mom bought that jersey for me years ago, and I got it signed down at the festival one year. So those are the two jerseys I got framed. Got a couple more in the back, but
Yeah,
can't
and
put them all
I
on the
know you
wall
got
right
some stuff, man. You got the Eagles helmets and everything. We're gonna have some fun tonight, like I said, because this man, he's interested in a lot of things we're interested in, Tony. So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about how you got started into this whole scene, just collecting and where you've come from and how where you are now.
Sure, man. Yeah, I mean, as most people, I started at a very young age. I was collecting cards back when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I mean, those are some of my earliest memories of collecting cards with my dad.
Mhm.
Sitting up in my room. Every year he would buy me the full team sets, and we would go through them and pull out the individual cards that we liked, put them in the top loaders, put them in the binders. I was doing card shows when I was 10 years old. You know what I mean? So I've been in the hobby for a while now. I mean, I don't have anything completely stellar that would, super impress anybody, but I still have the cards that I had when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, which, I enjoy hanging on to that stuff. But that's kind of what got me started. Going to games young, meeting players young. That's really kind of what fueled my passion for the hobby and for sports. I was a player too. I pitched in little league, and my dad was a pitcher in college. My grandfather was on one of the double A or single A teams for the Brooklyn Dodgers back in the 50s. So been a sports fan for a long time, and it just kind of continued on. And as I got older, find different avenues and get more money, and you could collect different things. So it's always been a part of my life for sure, man.
So it's definitely in the blood.
Absolutely, yeah. Even though I was born in Brooklyn, right?
Uh-huh.
And so my dad grew up a Mets fan, and I actually was a Mets fan for the first portion of my life. Moved to Philly after high school and just immediately converted to Philadelphia.
Good man.
You can't live in this area without being a Philadelphia fan. So my dad will never let me live that down. He always talks on me about, my son's a traitor, he should be a Mets fan, you know what I mean? So
You can be a fan of some other teams. We're not going to mention any names, but you'll be called a cockroach if you do.
yeah, no, I ain't no Dallas fan or nothing like that. But I do. If the Phillies are out of it or whatever, I'll keep an eye on the Mets for sure. But it's just funny that he will never let me forget that, and it brings it up every time they play each other. So
Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't blame him. You know what I mean. That
I know, I know.
that's his hometown, so I can respect that. I'm not going to hate on Dad. You know what I mean.
Yeah,
That
no. But yeah, I
keeping it
mean,
real.
we used to go to a lot of games, and I went to like a pitching clinic when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I got to meet Mel Stottlemyre, who was a
Mhm.
legendary pitcher, and he signed a ball for me, and I got to do a demonstration with him. My picture was in the paper with Mel Stottlemyre. I still have that ball, so that was my first kind of experience of meeting a player and getting something signed, and I kept that ball forever. I still have it on display, so that's kind of a memory of where I started
Yeah.
from.
And it's cool. Like I've never had those experiences as a kid, like growing up and meeting athletes, and getting things signed. That was just, my mother, she was into the church, and it was either work or church, and I played sports. I played basketball, football, ran track, never really got into baseball, but pretty much everything else. And when it came to things like that, it was just, there was no going to any games. There was no, going to training camps or even going to the card shop. So it's like it's night and day, where we're from, but I'm kind of like living all that now and doing
Yeah.
those things. So tell me a little bit, like when you're a kid, man, and you're meeting these guys, they're kind of like superheroes, and you're getting these things. Like how did that feel as a kid, man?
it was just exciting, man. I mean, being able to meet these guys that you watch on TV and get something signed. And I remember I had, a baseball, and we were at a Mets game, and we gave it to, I think, I saw John Franco, right? And he signed the ball, and he took it in the dugout, and it just went down the line, and
Oh,
everybody
wow.
signed the ball. When I got it back, I had pretty much the whole team on this ball. And that's like, for a kid, that's a dream come true for something like that. So
That's
I,
dope.
I definitely was lucky growing up. My dad went out of his way to make sure that I had those experiences, and it really has left some core memories for me, which I appreciate for sure growing up. And hopefully I can do the same thing with my kid. I'm starting to get my girl. I got 3 girls, right? So
Nice.
I'm starting to get them into, they're sitting down, they're watching the Eagles games with me now. I took my daughters to their first Eagles game a
Sweet.
couple of weeks ago when they played the Titans, and we were down in the trenches, man. We were in the end zone, and these guys were dropping the F bombs left and right. And they're looking around with these wide eyes, like, where are we, right? And you guys are, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry they didn't see her. But then my younger daughter realized, she's like, looking around, all these people are yelling and screaming. She's like, wait a second, I'm allowed to scream and yell and jump on my chair and act crazy? These are my people, right? I'm home, right? So she started screaming, let's go, let's go. Like, yo, you're raising this girl right. So it was a lot of fun, man. So that's what I'm trying to give my kids, those experiences too.
Yeah, that's super dope, man. I have 2 daughters. The one daughter could give 2 craps about any sports or anything like that, but she actually married a guy from Philly, so
Okay,
he kinda is, like, bringing her back into, sports like that.
nice.
But my younger daughter, yeah, I'm training her right and doing it the right way, so
That's
that's cool.
got
Tone?
Yeah, you definitely grow up fast when you take a kid. I went for my first experience. I was a teenager already, but you definitely grow up fast when you go to, especially an Eagles game.
yeah.
Philly's just a little more low key, but
This is a little more
yeah,
chill, yeah.
yeah, for sure. But I want to ask you before we dive deeper into it, we're going to talk about your collecting habits and all that good stuff. But I want to talk about your content
Mhm.
because talking to you, you said you have a background in design and marketing, and it definitely shows in your posts. So talk about your process when it comes to making your videos, post reels, and all that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so like you said, I have a design background. I graduated from Tyler School of Art, which is Temple's art campus, art school, with a graphic design and web design degree. I worked at an advertising agency for the first 15 years out of school. After that, I ended up purchasing the ad agency with my partner. We went through a rebranding, and we owned our own business right in the heart of Center City. But during COVID, things changed. So I ended up selling the business to my partner and opened up my own LLC. So there we were working with more of like corporate clients and nonprofits, hospitals, law firms, things like that. I was always doing my sports design stuff on the side though. So when I decided to shift gears, I said, well, how can I take my hobby and my passion and turn it into a profession, right? So I started working with promoters. I started working with different athletes and things like that. But mostly started with my collection, highlighting my collection online. That's kind of where I started, sneaking in a few design pieces here and there. But my take on it for the content is I want to give people something that they're going to enjoy watching, something that they're going to, anybody could post pictures of cards all day long, right?
Yeah.
There's a million pages that do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But I want to give people some of the content that I would want to see. And I have a fun, kind of laid back, chill personality, but I like to have fun with my videos. You know what I mean? I do some goofy stuff here and there to get some people engaged and to have a little fun, but people seem to be enjoying it. But I take all my content from a branding and marketing aspect, right? I'm doing something that's always kind of promoting my brand, always trying to network, always putting content out there that I know I can put an ad spend behind, or I know that it's going to hit a large target market because I have a big social media marketing background. So I just started my Instagram page like 7 months ago, and it's doing pretty well. So
Mhm.
if it's working, don't really fix it too much. Don't if it's ain't broke, don't fix it. But it seems to be going pretty good. I enjoy what I'm doing, and again, I'm doing all different kinds of type of niche things on my page. I'm trying different avenues to seeing what's sticking and to see what I enjoy doing the most too. Because like I said, I'm new to branding my own brand. So I've branded tons of other brands before, and I've worked in marketing for other brands, but it's new for me to try and do that for myself. So it's a little bit of touch and go and figuring it out as you go along. But whatever I enjoy creating, whatever I enjoy putting out there, that's all that really matters. You got to enjoy what you're doing. So
Yeah, that's dope. So here's the thing. Here's the proposition. So Oz and I got a bunch of Philly cards, memorabilia, all kinds of stuff. So we might have
right,
to work a trade where we do some memorabilia for pumping up our
hey
presence.
man, yeah. I'm always looking to generate new business. So if you guys are
All right.
interested in working with something, we can talk about that offline for sure.
Dope.
Oh, thousand
Dope.
thousand
Yeah,
percent definitely
I
interested
mean
because
it's all about too, like trying different things. Like there's different ways to reach different people. You have a specific target audience that you're trying to reach, but not everybody in that audience views Instagram or social media the same way. Some people are more, Facebook viewers. Some people are more Instagram. Some people like watching videos. Some people like just looking at pictures. So you got to switch it up. You got to hit all of your target audiences. And it really makes a difference too with, the behind the scenes stuff. When, if you are doing a promotion for some, a contest or for, a branding campaign, to make sure that you're targeting in on the right hashtags, keywords, the right, things in your video. The length of the video really makes a difference. Getting the hook on, to somebody to get them to watch that video all the way through to the end. So there's a lot that goes into it. And I just kind of pull everything that I learned from my years in marketing and design, and I try and apply that now to what I'm doing next.
See, Tony, it's a science, bro. It's a science.
The devil is in the details, man. You know what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
Are you hearing that echo?
Yeah. Oh, well, I think we're good now. Yeah, it was a little echo there. But I'll fix it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, I told Oz the one thing, and it's your videos that get me because you got the stuff that flashes across the screen. Gives you lets you know what the video is about. So you definitely do a really good job about that. So like I said, we're definitely gonna hook up and figure out what we can do to get better.
Let me know, man. Let me know what you need. I'll be happy to work with you guys. I love the opportunity to work with you, man.
Cool, man. Cool. Listen, another aspect of your content is your artist spotlight series, man. And you recently interviewed a good friend of the show and the creator of one of my favorite pieces in my PC. I'm, of course, talking about my man, Ken Carl. Talk to me about this dude. Talk about your spotlight series and what you're looking to accomplish with it.
I'll tell you, first things first, Ken Carl is not only is he an incredibly talented artist, right? His work blows me away, but he's got to be one of the nicest guys that I've met, right? I have never met him in person because he's all the way in Texas.
Yeah.
But he was actually one of the first guys that I reached out to, because that's another way I was starting to try and build my network. Was I was just started reaching out to different types of niche people, right? I reached out to, some influencers. I reached out to some card guys, and I started building my network out. Ken was one of the first guys that I reached out to in the sports art industry, right? And he does, for those of you who don't know, he does custom card illustrations, and they're just incredible. They look like photographs, and I've seen the process of how he does it. But he was the nicest guy when I reached out to him. Anything you need, Sal, let me know. He did he did an Iverson card for me too, man. And you can see that on my
I seen it. I said that's dope.
When I got that card in the mail, man, it blew me away. And I was like, yo, we got to get an interview done. So he was the first one who kind of actually sparked this sports art spotlight for me. I reached out to him initially to see if he needed help with some branding or marketing, because he has such an incredible talent. I was like, how are you promoting yourself? How are you reaching new people? And how are your sales and that type of stuff? So it was strictly almost business, and pleasure, because I was wanting to meet new people. But, when I saw what he actually does and I kind of dug into it and got the chance to talk to him, I was like, we have to do an interview, because he's just such an interesting person to talk to as well.
Yeah. High energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a good guy, man.
And we met in person at the National, and I'm like 5'10", 5'11" on a good day. Tony's
I've
about
only
the
seen
same.
him sitting down, so I don't know.
Bro, this dude's a giant. I talked about walking into his booth, and he was sitting down. He stands up, and I thought he was like the security guy for. There was another dude there, and I'm like,
Okay.
all right, who's Ken Carl? He's like, oh, that's me. And I'm looking up at this dude like, are you serious? God, I was like, you could draw and you're that big? I was like, that don't even make sense to me. It wasn't even computing in my mind. But yeah, nicest dude you'll ever meet, and
Absolutely.
I love Ken Carl. That's my boy.
Yeah, and that's kind of like I said, where the inspiration came from for this sports art spotlight, because of I wanted to do something that merged my passion for arts and design with my hobby and my passion for sports. And this is kind of the perfect mashup of these two things. And I'm still learning as I go too. I mean, I've only done a couple of them so far, but my first one was with Ken Carl, and I was trying to figure out the format for that. My second one, I actually got with James Fiorentino, who is one of the like Mount Rushmore of sports artists. I couldn't even believe that he returned my message when he when I got it. But I ended up doing an interview with him, so that's on my page too, and I thought it went pretty well. I've got some really good ones lined up, so I'm really enjoying learning about how these people create these amazing pieces of art, and some of them are this big and some of them are huge canvases. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of variety too to work with within this sports art realm. So that's where I think I'm going to be able to expand on some of this stuff, because there's so many different niches just within that one niche. So I'm never going to be able to, to run out of things to talk about with these people for sure.
Yeah, card art, whether you're cutting up the cards or you're, doing what Ken's doing, it's an unbelievable thing. I love it. Some people in the hobby, like the old school, they can't get into it. It's, they're
Right.
strictly has to be licensed, and but it's like these cards that these guys are producing are
Yeah.
sometimes 10 times better than what Panini's putting out.
Yeah.
And it's a sad thing. I like a lot of them should be, you know, at least getting jobs with these card companies and
Yeah.
saying, listen, why don't you guys try this, and getting ideas to take the
Mhm.
card market, because it looks like almost like the 90s cards
Yeah.
where there was like all these great
Remember those like
ideas.
Provisions cards that upper, I think it was Upper Decker Tops, but the 90s Provisions where they had the illustrations of all
Yeah,
the athletes and they were all jacked up like
yeah,
McGuire and
yeah,
Canseco. I love those
yeah.
cards, right?
And even like the inserts, that were just so creative and innovative. It's like they stopped doing a lot of
Yeah.
that, and then you got your Prism cards and stuff
Right.
like that, which is kind of
Yeah.
a
I mean, that's
knockoff of that, but it's not
completely.
anywhere where it used to be. And I think a lot of these guys that are doing this card art have great ideas that these card companies should be taking advantage of.
The other thing too with sports art is really trying to establish it as a real form of art too,
Mhm.
because people have some kind of perception of, oh, it's sports art, it's not real art, right?
Yeah.
Well, why not? It's like during my interview with James Fiorentino, he was saying, if a Picasso can sell for millions of dollars or whatever, if this Michael Jordan rookie card can sell for $1 million, why can't a hand drawn or painted one of one piece of artwork that's signed by Mickey Mantle be just as valuable?
Yeah.
And I completely agree. I'm a huge advocate for art and artists, and I'm a huge advocate for the hobby as well. So this, I'm doing what I can to promote both both aspects of what I love. So I
That's awesome.
completely
That's
agree.
awesome.
But
These guys, they deserve it. And
absolutely.
anytime we can pump, especially Ken, I mean, we talk about the pump and dump in the hobby. We're always pumping and dumping Ken Carl anytime we we could do it.
Wait till next week, because he just sent me a card that you
Uh-oh.
guys are going to absolutely love.
Oh, nice.
It's something that he did just that's on a consignment from me, but
Nice.
I'm going to be posting a video of this one.
Ooh, can't wait
It's
for that. We're waiting. I know Tony got one. I got one coming, so
yeah,
we're waiting. And I told Ken, I said, "Listen, bro. I said I got a couple different things that I want you to do. Like I collect toys, so I said I want you to do like a He-Man and Skeletor card for me, and I
yeah.
want
You
you to
can do
do a
any,
Stranger Things card for me, and all kind. I'm like, I just want you to have like special one-on-ones that's really gonna highlight my collection." And he's like, "Yeah, yeah, I love that."
very nice, very cool.
Yeah, that I mean, I can't. It's like the card art. We're on a roll with having card art, and artists on the show. Because by the time this airs, we would have had just released another one. We did a little bonus episode with a super crazy cool artist, and you guys will hear it. Well, it would have released already, so that was Jordan Spector. But
Oh, Jordan Spector.
yeah,
Okay,
Jordan
all right.
Spector is a beast. Jordan
Yeah,
Spector is just crazy,
yeah.
and
He's one that I would love to get an interview with for sure. So maybe you
Yeah,
guys
he's
can
yeah,
put in a good word with me.
his
gotcha,
work
gotcha.
work is whew, that is
Yeah, his
hot.
work is
He's all
crazy,
over the
and
place.
yeah, yeah, and with the cards, it's like with the Prism, it's cookie cutter. It's like it's the same design. They put the player, you know, they cut out the, it's like a photo and they put the player. It's like there's, I don't want to say there's nothing to it, but it just looks like there's just like, oh man, this is boring.
Yeah.
Where these guys are putting in the work and the creativity is like, I would love to see that start to be more mainstream as far as the cars that we see that are put in sets as opposed to just some one offs with like the Project 2020 and ah man, just why can't it just be whoever Bowman? This is a set of the card art and you know have at it with the rookies and everything. But
100%
maybe
agree.
one day.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. One I wanted to ask you one more on the content side. And like you said, you're trying to figure out different little segments to see which one sticks. And you do the one where you you were highlighting man caves.
Yeah.
So talk about some of the craziest pieces that you've seen while filming some of that stuff.
Man, I'll tell you, the idea that I had for that is because I've been in this market for a long time. I'm a little bit older than I look, a little probably, but I've been doing this for a while, and some of the guys that I know that I've built relationships with, I see their collections, and I'm just blown away by it, right? And some of these guys have like museum quality collections, right? And collectors love showing off their collection, right? So I'm trying to give these guys a platform to highlight some of their pieces that they're so passionate about, right? And they could only show to people when they come over their house. I'm like, hey, you want to come take a look at my man cave? Like, but this is going out to however many people. So they always love, highlighting their collection. But I've seen some pretty amazing, amazing pieces. The first episode I did was with Pat Adair, who is one of the Phillies bobblehead super collectors, and he's got thousands of bobbleheads, right? The second one I did was with Todd Schaefer, who runs Under the Radar Sports, and he has just an amazing Hall of Famer collection. He's got Cooperstown model bats lining the walls with everybody on them, from Ted Williams to Mickey Mantle to Hank Aaron to anybody you can imagine he's got. But the most impressive piece that I saw from him was he collects not team pieces, but he collects theme pieces, right? So he'll do a 16 by 20 with the Hall of Fame in the background and just get every single Hall of Famer on there. I think he's only missing like a few, like literally only missing a few. He's got everybody on this 16 by 20. It's covered. He has the same thing for Rookie of the Year winners, right? He's got a 16 by 20 that's signed, has hundreds of signatures on it. And the same thing for Cy Young winners. So when you line these pieces up, imagine the time that had to get put into these pieces. Imagine the money that was spent to get put into these pieces. And it's just, it should be in the Hall of Fame. You know what I mean? It should be at Cooperstown on display because it's just unbelievable to see some of this stuff in person.
You just gave me a why. I mean, maybe there is such a place, but like, you know how you go to the Philly Museum of Art and it has all the art. And is there somebody's got a place where somebody could take their stuff like that? And I mean, you'd probably want it at your house, but I'm like, man, somebody have a museum where you just can just put all, and you just go in there and you just see
there is
all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. There is something that's similar to that. It's not exactly that, but the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, it's not many people know about it, unfortunately, but it's down by the stadium. So they got a little museum down there, but there are some nice pieces that are in there that, are from I know the person whose personal collection that they come from. Right. But yeah, there's pieces from like Connie Mack Stadium. There's pieces from, Hall of Fame signed bats, game used bats, things like that. But yeah, I agree. There's not really a place that you can, just go in and look at sports memorabilia other than going into like, a mall store or something like that. But that stuff it's all the same stuff anyway. You don't want to look at that stuff. You see it everywhere,
Yeah. Yeah. So there's your idea to
Yeah.
make it happen.
All right, man. Let's start a business, I'm
Absolutely. How do you so how do you go about finding those guys? Because I mean, sometimes a lot of those guys like to keep that stuff on the down low, whether it be, and I get it, but how do you go about finding them?
Yeah, there's definitely been people that I've approached for that have said no, thank you. I don't want to. I don't want to be on video. I don't want to be on social media. I like my collection, and I'm old school guys tend to shy away from that stuff. You know what I mean? But like I said, I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I'm in countless Facebook groups, right, for autographs and Philly Inc. Shout out to Philly Inc. All my brothers in this Philly Inc. So But I just know a lot of people, and I like to think that I have a pretty good reputation in the industry. And I've been buying, selling, trading sports memorabilia and going to these events and going to these card shows and autograph signings for so many years that I just know a lot of people. And it's all through networking. It's all through just meeting people and being friendly with people. And now that people are starting to see some of this stuff, people are starting to reach out to me. Like the other day, I just had somebody that messaged me say, "Hey, I saw your Man Cave episode. You should come check out my house." I'm like, "All right, well, send me pictures first," right? So
Right.
he sent me pictures. I'm like, "Are you available tomorrow?" So I went down there the other day and I was just filming another one. So I'm gonna be releasing that one next week probably. So it's just always, on the hunt for new ideas and new avenues to promote
Nice.
myself and to promote other people.
So
Awesome.
that's a good segue, you know. So let's talk about the Philly sports scene. Now you help promote some private autograph signings, and you were just talking about how people are starting to reach out to you. You're networking, but how did you get into that lane, bro? Like you can't just show up and then people just start hitting you up. You obviously had to develop a reputation and figure out exactly where to go and how to do it. How did that come about?
So that started by me, like I said, when I was working with my agency, right? I was always doing sports stuff on the side. And the sports stuff that I was doing on the side was working with local card shops to design posters for their signings that they have coming up. When there was a card show or a memorabilia show coming up, I would design the signage for it and the flyers for it. And I started working with these promoters, right? So that's kind of how that lane started with. I was doing posters for these people, and then people started asking me to do custom designs for their signings and it just kind of grew from there to where I got in with some of these people who were doing these signings with these athletes. And then eventually I said, well, I have a background in marketing and advertising and PR pretty much. So why can't I do some of this stuff? Why can't I be a part of this and reach out to these agents or work with these promoters to go in on some of these deals? So I'm still very new to it, but it seems to be rolling along pretty good. And I've gotten some good connections with a lot of people that have good connections. So, they are always on the lookout for a good opportunity. And when I see something that I think is worth jumping in on, I jump in on it. And, I handle people's items, for send in signings and private autograph signings, handle those as if they were my own items. How would I want this item to be signed? Where would I want this item to be signed? I take care of it, make sure it's protected, mailed back secure. So it's not going to get folded by USPS in the mail and stuffed in the mailbox. Like there's a lot of things that go into that business. So I'm still learning, but I think that's kind of where I see this going eventually, is kind of working directly with agents to book athletes for events, to if an athlete has an event coming up, handling the PR. I work with a lot of the Philly sports radio stations. I work with 94 WIP. I work with 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm running ads on those commercials on those stations for my clients. So I'm just building my network. That's what everything in business is about, building your network, man. And I've been able to do that. And it's really that's something that I think has really helped me along the way for sure.
So who's your favorite radio personality in Philadelphia?
Well, my clients advertise with Joe DeCamara from 94 and Andrew Saltunis from 97.5 Fanatic.
Okay.
That's cousin the Tunis, man. I
Yeah.
see those guys out at all
Tunis.
the events. Yeah, I see them at the events, and they've been nothing but nice to me. And they'll hop on my Instagram and answer some questions for the fans and things like that. So, I'm not picking favorites, but those two guys have been nothing but nice to me for sure. So,
What about the Cuz, man? The
well,
Cuz.
cousin the Tunis go hand in hand, right?
Exactly.
It's
Gargano.
Anthony Gargano is definitely a character. Every time you see that dude, he acts like he's known you for 20 years and hasn't seen you in 20 years. He's like, "Yo, what's going on, brother?" It's like you instantly get that warm feeling, like you're back in your own, in your old hometown type of thing. But the Cuz is definitely a great guy.
Love it, love it. Now, what has been your like favorite athlete interaction within the past couple of years?
My favorite athlete interaction. That's a good one. I've had some bad interactions. I'm not gonna talk
Really?
about that. Yeah.
Hey, we can talk about good or bad, whatever it
Couple
is.
guys that are big time to me where they're just like, and they don't even talk to you, and you're like, really? You can't even exchange words
Yeah.
with me. Really, you're too good for that. But anyway, but yeah, there's been some really cool experiences that I've had over the last couple of years. The best one that I would say is probably with now he's not super nationally known, even though he is, a legend in the sport of baseball, and he's definitely a legend in Philadelphia sports, is Mr. Bobby Shantz. I'm sure you guys have heard of Bobby
Yeah.
Shantz, the Philadelphia A's, New York Yankees, 1952 AL MVP. He was in the All-Star game. But I got an opportunity to do a private signing with Bobby Shantz, and actually went to his house,
Oh
right?
wow.
And sat down with him. And this guy, I'll tell you, he's like 90 something years old, right? But he's still going strong, man. He's sharp as a tack. He's funny as hell, but he's also the sweetest old, like he's like a grandfather type, you would expect a grandfather type figure. But some of the stories that he tells, man, during these interviews, I mean, he played back in the 50s and played for the Yankees. So he's got stories with Mickey Mantle. He's got stories with Yogi Berra, Ted Williams, Joe DiMaggio, like anybody who's anybody in the history of baseball, he's played with them or has had a beer with them. So, it's
Yeah.
some of the stories that he told me were great over the course of the couple hours that I was at his house doing the signing. And then he took me down into his basement,
Ooh.
right? Where he's got his gold gloves hanging up on the mantle. He's got his Cy Young or his MVP award sitting over the fireplace, and he's showing me pictures of him with Mickey and pictures of him with Yogi Berra, and telling me more stories. So it was just that. I don't think anything's really going to top that, and nothing has topped that so far, just because it was such a genuine experience for me,
Mhm.
and I just had the best time ever hanging out with him for sure. So.
Wow. I believe he's kind of a staple
Yeah.
signer too at the Philly show. He kind of does, I think, almost all the days. Usually I see him
He's
being
always there.
yeah, yeah.
He's
Yeah, good
always
for
there.
him though, man. I'm like that probably, it's like, dude, what like I got a lot of stories to tell, man. And these are
He
he's right in the
he's
right room with the right people.
Yeah, now I'm probably gonna give this away, and I'm hoping that too many other people don't do what I did, but when I was there, I got him to sign a baseball for me, and you know how people get these baseballs? I should have brought it out, but it's a stat ball, right? So it has,
Yeah.
1952,
Mhm.
MVP, X time Gold Glove winner, that's this stat, this stat, this stat, and on the other side, I got him to write, "I struck out Mickey Mantle, Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams." Like I got
Wow.
all these, legends, right? And
That's
he
dope.
struck all of them out, and he loves talking about it. But I got a stat ball with all those names listed on it, and it's just the coolest piece that
Can
I
you
have.
imagine that? Sheesh.
I love it. I love
Being
that.
able to say that. Like,
Yeah.
"Ah, I struck all those guys out."
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So that was a fun one for sure.
Ah, that's awesome. One thing I want to ask you too, you make some of the cleanest custom cards, and you touched about it with the posters too, but
Yeah.
the cards that you do from Dwight Gooden, you did one with confetti from the Super Bowl, and the one that I saw, I was looking through your page, I'm like, man, I saw the Randall Cunningham. I was like, "Ooh, that thing is clean." Talk
Thank
about
you.
how you make those and why, and you make them so that they're autograph friendly.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
tell me how that all works down. And dude, they're really clean. I'm like, man,
I
these are
appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Yeah,
yeah,
I that's something that I really enjoy doing. It's almost like therapeutic for me. You know what I mean? Like, actually, each one of those is handmade. They're one of one cards, right? I don't make two of them. The only reason I would make two of them is if I'm going to a signing and I know that they're going to do multiples. I get two of them made just in case I screw it up as I'm cutting it out. You know what I mean? So there's a chance that the ruler slips and the X-Acto blade goes across the
mhm,
signature, and I'm like, like
yeah,
so, but yeah, that really started with me going to all these autograph events and meeting all these athletes, and kind of running out of things to get signed. Really, I mean, there's only so many times you can meet Brent Selleck and get him to sign the same photo. It's
mhm,
that's how I started, where I was doing these custom photos for these guys, and I have a collection of all these custom 16 by 20 canvases that are all done in the same, like, color burst style and things like that. But eventually you run out of room on the wall, right? So I had to think of something a little bit more compact that I could get these guys to sign that was original. So I was like, well, I'm going to design my own custom cards, right? So I started doing it, and turns out that the athletes really enjoyed looking at them too, which was an extra added little bonus for me, is somebody looking at my work and saying, "Oh, this is awesome. How can I get one of these?" I'll say, "Well, I have one here for you. I made one extra one for you, you know." But the athletes love signing them, and these cards, I've built up quite a good collection of, you know, Philly legends. I mean, I've got everybody from, like you said, Randall Cunningham to Brandon Graham to, you know, Bernie Perrant, and, you know, everybody in between that I've just met over the years. I get them to sign these custom cards, and they're probably not worth anything, and they're probably not going to ever end up leaving my collection, but it's something that I enjoy doing. I'm building up this collection of these things. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. Eventually hand them down to my daughter, who probably won't care about them, but you know, I mean, it's just something that I enjoy doing. And right now it's almost a little motivation to see how many guys I can get on this. And it's almost like I'm developing my own little set of baseball and football and basketball cards, you know? So I really enjoy it. And, but the Super Bowl card, you touched on that one. That was definitely a fun one to do. And that I got my hands through, you know, somebody I know, on a big Ziploc baggie full of confetti that they scooped up from this field at the Super Bowl. Right. And they were with the press and everything like that. So they were like, does anybody want any of this stuff? I'm like, get me a bag of confetti. Right. So I got a bunch of different pieces. And I'm like, okay, now I have to think, what am I going to do with this stuff? Right. It's not easy to display confetti, right? You can't put it in a picture frame. You can, but you can mat it up and stuff like that. But I thought of the custom cards and cutting these little relic pieces out and doing, you know, so what I ended up doing was 2 series of these cards, one with a single piece, either black, green, or, you know, the silver ones are pretty rare, or a double piece with, you know, green and black, green and silver. And each one of those series I numbered to 52. So I did 104 cards total, right? Nice. And I bought my own slabs. I slabbed them up. I designed my own labels, front and back, and they look like a real professional card that somebody would put out. So people really liked looking at them, and, you know, they did pretty well in the Philly community, let's just say. So, you know, I still have some left, you know, I might, you know, the thing with that though, is doing 104 cards, my fingers got a little tired cutting out all those little, you know, each one of those things is done by hand by me. So, you know, it was hours and hours and hours of, you know, work, hand done. So I hope people appreciate it. Yeah.
You got 2 guys commissioning one of each or something right now.
Bro, I had to do a double take when I was looking at him. I was like,
that is fire. Like, you guys need to look up this man's, well, we'll get to that. We'll plug your IG later, all that stuff, but it is legit clean, like fire.
Like, I'm thinking I'm looking at like Panini or something. Like, I'm like, wait a minute, he didn't do these. He did these. Woo.
Yeah. I tried to have fun with it. And, you know, like I said, I could do any style, you know, design. I mean, I've been a graphic designer for over 20 years, you know, I mean, it's what I do, and it's my background, it's my core. So again, it was just all about doing something different and being able to bring my skills that I've acquired and learned over the years and apply it to something that I'm passionate about. So, you know, I'm trying to find those different ways to just show off my skills and give people something that's unique, you know, that they're not going to be able to get anywhere else. And that's what I really enjoy doing.
Yeah. And that's what I love too, like having pieces that are unique that nobody has. And, you know, that goes in perfect to what I'm going to ask you. Cause when I got my Ken Carl 101, I bought it at the National, and Allen Iverson just happened to be there at the same time. So so Ken was like, bro, you got to get that sign. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Cause I knew it was going to be 4 hours of waiting. You got to buy the ticket, got to wait in line. Then I got to get it authenticated. And I was like, oh my God, I'm at the National. This is my first National. And I was like, I don't want to spend 4 hours in line, but it was the best 4 hours that I ever spent. But like, dude, just getting these autographs on there. And I remember going up to Allen. This is the first time, like I said, I never did anything like this. I've never gotten autographs or even really met athletes like that close up. So I'm like looking at my idol, and he's like looking at this card. He takes it, and he paused. You know, every other card and picture, he's signing it, looking up, cool. He had his mask on. And then he took off his mask and he just stopped. He was just like, "Yo, what's what is this?" I was like, "That's dope." He's like,
Yeah,
"Yo,"
he's the
and he
type of
shows his boy, and he's like, "Yo, that's fire. What color you want? What color you
yeah,
want me to put it on?" I was just like, gold," because just to match the little gold 101 that Ken had. He
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"Nah." I said, "No." He said, "Nah." I said, "Well," I said, "You're the professional. You do this all the time. You tell me what marker you want to use." He's like, "Black." I was like, "Bro, have at it." And when he
okay,
finished, he's like, "What do you think?" I was like, "Bro, that's a masterpiece." But
nice.
for people that don't have the knowledge, you walk up to this thing and they got like 52 markers and pens, and and it's like it was a little intimidating to me because he's asking me, and I'm like, "Bro, I have no idea what's gonna look best on this card."
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
one I picked, he was like, "No." So, like, give us like how do you go about doing that and making sure that, the pens and everything, what's the
yeah.
best for acquiring
That's
signatures?
that's a whole nother side to this that people don't really think about a lot of the times is having the right type of pen for the right athlete, right? Because every athlete's got a different signature. So, hockey players, especially older hockey players, they spell out cursive every letter of their name. So you got to make sure you have a real thin, fine point deco or fine point Prisma colored paint pen, because if you get them the thick one, it's just going to look like a blob because they're going to be going over and it's just going to be, so it really depends on the athlete. It depends on what item you're getting signed too, because photo is obviously going to be completely different than getting a helmet signed, right? Sometimes
Right.
you could use the same markers for it, but markers, placement, the athlete autograph, it all goes into, the variety of different ways things can look. So, and I always tell people, be prepared. Bring your own pens to the signings. Do not rely on the autograph, people at the booth or at the table to supply a pen for you because I've seen it happen, man, where people's items have gotten ruined. I was in line one time for a Brian Dawkins signing, right? And this guy in front of me was going on and on and on about how he had this, game. I think it was a game used jersey, right? It was
Mhm.
something like really special to him, right? And he was so excited to meet Dawkins for the first time. And we were waiting for like 2 hours, and he gets up to the table, and there was like 100, 50 people in front of us. Dawkins was using the same black pen for everything he was signing, man. And he got to this guy and he signed his jersey, and it was just a completely dry pen at that point. And the signature came out horrible. He grabbed another marker and tried to sign over it. And I'm like, he's ruining this jersey. This poor guy, right? I felt so bad for him because I just saw the blood drain out of his face.
Yeah.
That autograph wasn't coming out the way he wanted it to. So always bring your own pens. Sharpies are always classic, but for Sharpies, I always end up getting a new pen every time because you can't risk it, right? Sharpies are a couple bucks. Spend the money, get a new
Mhm.
marker if you're going to meet somebody that you're really excited to get their autograph. Paint pens can be very tricky to work with. So, there's a couple brands that I always use. Prisma is a good one. Pilot is a great paint pen for sure, and they have all the different sizes that you can use, thick to thin. Deco is an industry standard Deco color paint pen. The new ones that I've been liking a lot lately are the Molotov or Mulatto. I'm not sure exactly what the name of it is, Molottow, but they have all different kinds of colors too. So you can get a bright Kelly green color if you're getting a throwback Eagles guy, right?
Nice.
If you're getting Randall for something and it's on a black canvas, that green's going to pop on that
Right.
black canvas. So, that's really, I look at the piece and I decide, number one, what's going to look the best, what's going to pop the best, where is it going to look the best? Because nothing worse than having an athlete sign in a dark marker over a dark photo in the worst possible area. It's like, all right, this thing's worthless now. So you got to plan ahead if you're going to these things.
Yeah, and that was the thing. I wasn't expecting to do it,
No, not
and it
against
just
you, man. I'm not talking, but you learned from that experience, though, right? I mean,
yeah, yeah, definitely. Because again, it was intimidating just meeting Allen Iverson, and then he's asking me the question. I'm like, bro, I have no idea what the hell. Just sign it, I guess. I don't know.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, a couple things before I get to my next question, and
Sure.
we'll dig into the PC. But some stuff that popped into my head when you were talking about the custom cards and you're like, ah, they're not, maybe not, they're not worth anything or something like that. But
Right.
Oz always says, I want to come to your house or whatever you invite me to, and you tell me, hey, here's my collection, and what does it say about you? So when you bust those things out, it's like, first of all, I made these.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I put the time and effort and look at all the, and then when you're talking about the guys you're getting to sign, I mean, that's that's fire, man. So it's definitely worth something.
Mhm.
But
It's worth something to me, and that's all that
yeah,
really matters. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
for sure.
Yeah, it could, like the one that I really do enjoy, which was one of the first ones I actually did, was for Peyton Manning, and I ended up sending that off through the mail to his foundation, and he signed it and sent it back. So that one is pretty cool to have a Peyton Manning autograph
Mhm.
on a custom card that I made. Like nobody else is going to really be able to say something like that. So
Yeah,
they're always fun to show off to people when they come over for
True
sure.
yeah,
101.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. The other thing that popped in, so Nat Turner talked the other day online about people, please stop getting your cards autographed or something like that. Like, don't stop
Okay.
letting, and he was kind of getting fried in the comments. I think there was a little bit of a hot take. What do you guys, are you guys, I mean, obviously, I kind of know the answer, but still, I just want to hear you break it down because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with getting a card autographed. Like, I mean, I know some of the people, like the old school thinking it's like, oh, it makes the card less. Or
Well, yeah.
I disagree.
I
Yeah.
mean, it depends on the card, I guess. I mean,
Mhm.
but to me, in my opinion, like if it's a vintage card, right? I mean, a Mickey Mantle rookie card is going to be worth a hell of a lot more if it's signed by Mickey Mantle, in my opinion. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not an expert, but I would think so, right? I mean,
Right. You
I
would
don't.
think.
The newer cards, maybe everything has changed since Panini took over the world. Man,
Mhm.
everything has changed, and I don't really get too involved with the new stuff. Right? There's like you were saying before, Oz. There's too many variations. There's too many cookie cutter looking cards. There's too many, different. Like you said, you get the 1 of 1, 1 of 25, 1 of 50, like all these different colors and sapphires and
Yeah.
black matrix versions. I'm like, I
Yeah.
get lost in all that. I miss the days where there was one rookie card for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
guy, right? Like now there's 300 rookie cards for a guy. So I honestly, I've stayed away from that side of the hobby.
Mhm.
I collect mostly vintage. I collect mostly cards that I love, and even with players too. I collect, players that are more veteran type players. I don't really spend too much money on the newer guys because I got burned so many times with these guys that I went all in on these Eagles guys, and then they're gone the next year. And I'm like, now like I'm stuck with all this stuff. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I learned my lesson on some of that stuff. I really do focus on more of the vintage guys, or the veteran guys, I should say. But as far as cards, to me personally, do what makes you happy. If you enjoy
Yeah.
getting cards signed, get your cards signed. I don't care. It's not going to hurt my feelings. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
if that's what you love to do, then do it. It might affect the value, it might not. But if you're out there getting cards signed, most likely you're not doing it because you're a flipper or a reseller. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You're doing it because you're a collector and you're passionate about the hobby. And that's all that matters. There's two completely different sides to this hobby. It's people who collect for their personal collection and then people who are collecting for resale values. So I do a little bit of both, but I'm not in it for the resale portion of it. Like I said, these cards are never going to leave my collection. They're for me. I enjoy looking at them. I pull them out and I enjoy looking at them. So that's really, do what makes you happy, do what you love, and that's really all that matters. So
Yeah, there's this old school mentality of like the original, let's just go with the '86 Fleer.
mhm,
That's considered a rookie card for a bunch of people, including Charles Barkley.
right,
So the old school mentality is like you would never get that signed. That's their rookie card. That's it. Now, if you want to get it signed, go with a second year or a third year or some other type of card that's
right,
not really considered their quote unquote rookie. But the first card I ever bought, not knowing, when I came back into the hobby a couple years back, the first card, my first big purchase was a Charles Barkley autograph.
86.
on his 86 Fleer, and I was like, bro, that's dope, you know, and not knowing nothing about what anybody hobby rules and you know what the hidden council of, you know, 5 people sit on the high mountain of the hobby and
Yeah.
make out and dole out all these rules, you know, it's like, whatever. I was like, that's dope that Charles Barkley actually held this card. It's an on-card auto. It's his rookie card. Why the hell wouldn't I want that card? It's slabbed up, authentic by PSA all day.
And to me, that's such a flawed mentality, man. The purists out there, I mean, to each their own. Like I said, if that's your thing, that's fine. But it's kind of like religion. Like, I believe what I want to believe, but I'm not going to push it on anybody else, right? Keep your opinions to yourself. Everybody, you know, like, so it really doesn't matter to me what people think. And that goes back to the content that I put out there too. I don't really care what people think of me. I make an idiot out of myself sometimes on my posts, you know, but I enjoy it, so I don't really care. I don't care what people think of me. You know what I mean? So it really doesn't matter. Do what you
You're
love.
having fun, bro. You know, if you can't have fun in this hobby, like there's some people they take it too serious. And again, I'm not here to judge people, and that's not what we're doing. But the hobby's an escape from reality. So why are you gonna bring that stiffness, you know, and have a stick up your you know what, and just walk around holier than thou? And it's like, come on.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Completely agree, man.
Yeah. So Sal, you touched on it a little bit. Let's talk about that PC. Kind of like, you know, what are the focal points of your collection? What are you looking to achieve? You know, what's doing with the Sal PC?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking to build my collection up, you know, much to my wife's dismay. You know, it's you know, the mail day comes and she's like, all right, what's coming now? You know what I mean? So, but it's you know, like I said, I enjoy collecting what I love to look at, you know. So it's the athletes that I grew up watching. It's the athletes that I've had interactions with, because once you meet somebody and you can have that personal connection with them, you're going to root for them. You're going to become a fan of theirs. So some of that type of stuff is in my collection, like Ryan Howard, you know, Allen Iverson, those two guys, you know, meeting them and them just being so cool, you know, when you meet them, it's like, all right, I'm doing something right here by collecting these guys. And, you know, it's mostly, I mean, I grew up a Jordan fan. So my collection card wise, I would say most cards that I have of one player is definitely Michael Jordan. I've got boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of Michael Jordan cards, and I'm always looking to buy Jordan cards. I don't sell too many of them, so I've got doubles and triples and quadruples of the same card. But you know, that was he was really my first PC guy, was Jordan. You know, 14 years old, my room was wall to wall covered in Jordan posters. And I started collecting his cards and memorabilia at an early age. So, you know, I've got a few really nice Jordan pieces in my collection. Other than that, it's mostly Hall of Famers. You know, I've got the Mickey Mantles, I've got Koufax, I've got, you know, the Willie Mays guys. But you know, it's all the Philadelphia legends really is what I'm passionate about. You know, Brian Westbrook, Brian Dawkins, Howard, Iverson, those type of guys. You can't ever have too many of that stuff. You know, it's just a matter of, like you said, running out of things for them to sign for you. You know, how many times you're getting to sign again. You know? Some of these guys got to know me over the years because they see me so many times. You know.
Yeah, I seen that one post that you had where you the picture that you made and you had Brian Dawkins signing it. Like, describe that one. That looked pretty dope.
That's, like I was saying, that was one of those color burst style posters that I do. It's that was actually, I think, a canvas that I got done. But yeah, it was, you know, it's just trying to do something different with the artwork, you know what I mean? And creating something that is a true one of one piece that nobody else is going to have, you know? And when I show that to people, they're like, well, where'd you get that? And to be able to say, I made it and he signed it, you know, it's just, it's cool. It's a cool thing for me. So that's really like I said, what I enjoy doing is finding things that that are something a little different. And sometimes the athletes are surprised by them and they really enjoy look. Like you were talking about Iverson, right? When I got my piece done by Iverson, not the jersey, but when I got my custom done, he literally stopped the line and was like, yo, what is this, right? And he was looking at it and looking at all the details on it and looking at all the little pictures that I had in there. And he was like, I remember that game and this and that. And his handlers were like, come on, we got to move this along. And he's like, yo, where can I get one of these, right? And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I made it, so give me your info and I'll
Yeah.
send it to you, right? So so
That's
that was a
dope.
pretty cool experience too. He's one of the coulest guys to meet in
I
person.
need to
Yeah.
see Allen Iverson's collection because everything he signs, he's trying to keep or at
Yeah,
least get a piece. He's a
that's
trip,
what
man.
I've heard. Everything he sees,
Yeah.
that's cool. He's like, where can I get one of
Yeah.
these? So
Yeah.
he's got to be a collector too. Hopefully,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, Sal, I saw you in action the last Philly show.
Yeah.
You did the custom Schwarber piece.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and that was another one that's like, man, this is nice. And I saw, and I saw in your pictures, I saw, you had them, but then you went and got it signed. And,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
believe you gave him one. And I just to see the look on his face is like, wow, this is
I
like,
guess, yeah. I mean, that was a pretty cool, experiment that I did with those ones because after the Bedlam at the Bank game, right?
mhm,
I was like, all right, I gotta jump on this hype right now, and I gotta do something that's different. So I created a Bryce Harper like movie poster style, right?
mhm,
And the name of the movie was Bedlam at the Bank, right? And it was like, one man takes the swing of his life. And what I ended up doing was I took Scott Fransky's, now what's going to be an infamous call, right? And
right,
I put that at the bottom where you would normally see like the credits and stuff like that.
yeah,
And it looks all I love everything I do. Sometimes I hate it, but this came out, one of my favorite pieces, and I got Scott Fransky to sign a bunch of them for me, right? And then I was like, all right, well, Schwarber's going to be at the Philly show, and I wanted to again get something a little unique and different. So I created a movie poster for Schwarber, and he was the bomber on Bomb Street, or a
yeah,
bomber on Broad Street, rather.
mhm,
So it was like a cool little play on movie poster, and it looked like a thriller movie type of thing.
dope, yeah,
And I got Schwarber to sign a bunch of those, and gave a couple out, to some other people, sold a couple of them, and it's just creating something different that people don't see, and I think that's really kind of what I think separates me from the pack is, being able to use what I have the knowledge of and the creativity and the conceptual thinking. I think I always try and approach something with the design aspect to it, and everything in the world is designed. Few things are designed well. That's my, a famous design quote. So I try and kind of think about that when I'm doing some of these pieces is, what can I do that people are going to look at and say, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. I got to get me one of those things. So that's,
yeah.
it was a lot of fun at the Philly show, man. I saw you picked up, you were trying to sell me a Clemente, but I know you picked up a couple there too, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah. No, it was George. Yeah, I had Clemente's in because I remember you said George. I was like, oh, I have
Oh,
some.
yeah.
I just take them with me. I was like, if you want, but yeah,
I was in
I
the
did, and I
process
saw
of
you.
buying a couple Jordans at the show when I met you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah. So and I saw you picked up Clemente at. Oh, well, we'll talk off there. I got to tell you a story about a mall.
Oh,
A
yeah.
mall
Yeah. Okay.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to waste time on here. But
Good, man.
before we kick it to Oz for the last question, Sal, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. Right now I am just on Instagram. I'm trying to build that up first. So my Instagram is STM underscore sports and collectibles. It's right there on the screen. If
Yeah.
anybody wants to come on, hop on. I'd love to, if you guys to follow me. If you have any suggestions for things that you want to see on my page, send me a message, and I'll try and work some things out. But again, I'm trying to have fun on that page, man, and trying to build my network up. So anybody who likes enjoying looking at memorabilia, looking at cards, watching me hustle around, chasing athletes down to get these autographs and showing some of my design pieces and, some funny clips in between, definitely throw me a follow. I would certainly appreciate it.
That's dope, man. Listen, bro, this has been unbelievable, and I want you to finish it like we always do, and that's by giving a piece of advice to anybody that say either a collector or autograph hunter, or even a content creator, so that they can have the best hobby experience possible. What advice would you give them?
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of been the theme of this whole show, right?
Hmm.
Do
Hmm.
what you love, do what you're passionate about. Don't care about what anybody else is saying about your stuff, but the main thing is you gotta hustle at it, right? I mean, that's the number one thing that I've gotten from a lot of people that are discovering my page and what I'm doing is like, man, you're hustling every day. You're putting something out there, right? You're always hustling. You're always running places and meeting people and doing all this. It's like, yeah, I've been doing this stuff for 20 years. I just started filming it recently. You know what I mean? So I've been hustling for a while now. But yeah, you got to be present in the moment. You got to kind of, really put in the effort, because if you half-ass it, people can tell. People can see the difference between, quantity over quality. You know what I mean? I think so. Really put your all into everything that you do. If you're getting into the hobby, don't worry about, trying to get into it for the money at first, because a lot of times you're going to make some bad investments and you're going to hop on some trends that you're going to end up losing a lot of money on. Like these new guys, man, like these new Prism cars, like you said, are selling for, crazy money, right? I can't even imagine how some of these 14, 15-year-old kids are selling cars that are like more than my house. I'm like, how the hell did you get your hands on that car, man? You know what I mean? So,
insane, bro.
I don't know. I don't get it, man. I stay away from all that stuff. But, just like I said, do what you love, do what makes you happy and what you're passionate about. And if you give 100% effort to that, you are going to be successful at it. So
dope.
That's my advice.
All right. Last question.
Okay.
Super Bowl prediction.
Eagles. Eagles are going all the way this year, man. Absolutely.
Don't think so? Legit,
man.
I know what I think.
Okay.
Everybody knows what Cousin Oz thinks when it comes to the Eagles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm asking you.
I think, they're on fire, man. I don't see anybody slowing them down. I think that some people are worried that they peaked too early and that they're not going to be able to sustain it. But I heard on the radio the other day, like if they, after this playoff run, if they get like 6 weeks at home without having to travel and play an away game or something crazy like that. Right. Yeah. So, they're going to be, that's 6 weeks over the holidays of sleeping in your own beds, of staying at your own, in your own place and seeing your family and your friends. Like they're going to be in a completely different mindset than some of these other teams that are traveling across the country and playing back-to-back games and all this stuff. So I think they're gonna take the world by storm and these playoffs by storm, man. I hope I don't eat my words and they get knocked out in the first round. But
well, they should have a bye, so you'll get past that.
Yeah. But even the bye, right? Even the bye week, your first opponent that you're facing is not going to be a team that's just a just squeaked in team. They're going to be a good opponent. So you got to be on your A game coming.
So who do you fear? Let's go. Who do you fear in the NFC?
Yeah.
And who do you expect to face in the AFC? Obviously the Super Bowl.
Oh, man. Who's got the best record in the AFC right now? I don't know. I don't even know.
Is that the Chiefs?
Chiefs? I was going to say, it could be a showdown between the two MVP candidates, right?
Yeah.
How crazy would that be if it's Mahomes, and Hurts? I don't know. That would be a insane.
Andy Reid.
Right? Yeah, Andy Reid. That's a movie right there. It's a movie to watch that Super Bowl. So that would be pretty cool. Even though
you got Josh, like my prediction was beginning of the season, Josh Allen, the Bills, and the Eagles.
Yeah, that's a good bet. But I don't know. Who do you think's going to get MVP? Do you think it's going to be Mahomes? Or do you think it's going to be Hurts?
It's got to be Hurts, unless something tragic happens at this pace. He's favored right now.
Yeah.
In Vegas, so I don't.
I
really, what? If he goes and shows out against Dallas, they're chirping over there. Micah Parsons is opening his mouth and talk a lot of smack over there, and so. Listen, they're calling him a system quarterback. They're calling him, it's the team. It's not Jalen. And again, Jalen's not above the team, but Jalen has made a leap, which has been incredible. Absolutely. As from last year to this year, and he deserves, every accolade that he's getting right now. And at this pace, if they lay the smackdown on Dallas, it's a wrap.
Yeah,
MVP.
Absolutely agree. The only thing that I worry about is, God forbid he gets hurt, man.
Injuries.
But if he gets hurt, it's time for Minshew Mania, baby. Let's go. We'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to the rest of the season, man. It's been a fun ride so far, and
man.
The same thing with the Phillies. It was heartbreaking when they lost, right? But man, what a ride that was, right?
That was unbelievable, man.
Unbelievable. So hopefully we get the same thing, but we can finish it out this year.
Maybe the Sixers pick a little bit of that mojo up I doubt it, but you never
No,
know.
you never know, man. I don't think. I think that they're kind of dysfunctional at
They
this.
are. I
You
think
know,
it's from the
hey,
top down. Tony and I were talking about it. Maybe they need a head coaching change.
yeah, they've
Just
got head coaches like on staff too. You know what I mean? So I
yeah,
think that they,
yeah.
a change from Doc Rivers, I don't think would be the worst thing in the world. But I don't know, man. They've tried everything to get somebody around Embiid, man. They've tried surrounding him with speed players. They've tried surrounding him with big men. They've tried surrounding him with, every possible combination that you could think of, and nothing has really clicked thus far.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I don't
bro, like honestly, it's like every time we get there, he gets some type of injury.
I know, man.
It's
That's
either
their
the
trust.
face, he gets smashed, a broken face.
They would have
We were
won that. They would have won, dude. If he didn't bust his face open and
and
break his
that's a freak injury. Homeboy comes with the elbow I'm like, are you kidding me?
dude, imagine what that feels like, dude, breaking your
Yeah.
but like,
Yeah.
and then he tried, he was playing a couple weeks after that too, man.
Yeah,
So
he tried.
he
I
tried.
love
I
Embiid,
mean,
but
I thought if there was going to be a year, that was going to be it, man. If he didn't
yeah,
get injured, I think they had a real good shot of going all the way. But
yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do this year. I don't know. I had no predictions for the Sixers. I can't help you that. Sorry.
I'm always holding out faith. But Sal, man, listen, brother, this has been a blast. I knew we were gonna have, like I said in the beginning, we're gonna have some fun, and you definitely brought it. And dude, I'm seeing big things on the horizon. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah,
That IG is gonna keep flowing. Like you said, what was it? May you started? May
something like
20,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
May 2022. I had to look at it twice. I was like, damn, he's only had this a few months. He's
yeah,
killing it.
yeah.
So,
So,
keep doing
yo,
what you're doing, brother, man.
I just want to say, guys, I'm a big fan of yours, and I appreciate the invite to come on here. This was a lot of fun. This was actually my first podcast interview ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, ever. So this was a first for me, and I'm glad it was with you guys.
Sweet.
And it was a pleasure to be on with you. And thanks again for having me, man. I really
Sweet. We
appreciate
definitely got to hook up. But yeah, man, we're gonna do this like we always do. Tony, anything? Any last comments?
No, let's just let's help control the pet population. Don't forget to have your pet spayed or neutered. You don't know where that's from.
Me?
So
Price is Right.
Oz is
Bob
totally
Yeah,
Barker, right?
I know. Yeah, I know who that
Bob
is. That's
Barker.
Bob Barker. Yeah.
all right. You guys win.
Come on, bro.
Bob
I was
Barker.
I don't know
watching
why
Bob
that.
Barker before you were born. Stop
That's
it.
true. I don't even know why that popped in my head, but that was fantastic.
It's a
I'm gonna
valid
pat
point,
myself.
though. It is a
I'm-
valid point, man.
Love it. Love it.
All the time.
And on that note, we're gonna end this like we always do, and that's keep focused, keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, bring the beat back.